Hi YouTube, welcome to the Pagan Perspective. This is Wednesday and I'm subbing for Eric. Hi YouTube, welcome to the Pagan Perspective. I am Megan, aka Sabirasri, and I am subbing for Eric again this week. And we are doing our fun April grab bag of topics. So this Wednesday, I thought I would do orbs and floaters. And that's sort of what the question is about. It's a longer question. I'll put it in the down bar below, but really the question is about, is this a medical thing or is this a pagan magical thing? What's going on with the stuff that floats in your eyes? And I've gotten them lots of times. And I'll say even filming videos, when you have the bright lights on you, you get lots of different types of colored dots all over your eyes as well. But occasionally what I get especially are what I call these little worms. And I'll say that I've definitely gotten a little freaked out at times because sometimes they look like the little virus worms that you see in like the movie Outbreak and things like that. So I always worry, oh no, do I have something? But in general, the way I feel about them is that there is a medical explanation for them. For the floater things, the little, kind of lines that look like maybe there's a hair there, it might be microscopic. Those things, I tend to feel like that's a medical thing. I also wear contacts, so I generally assume there's something on my contact. So I think that that's sort of where I stand on that. Orbs, however, are a little bit different. So the orbs that the person is talking about, they only see in the sky. They don't see anywhere else, which to me screams that this is an eye reaction with the bright light of the sun. However, they're also saying that it's moving sideways, up and down, so it could be other things. So in order to take this video in a great pagan direction, I'm going to kind of veer off. If I was trying to give a quick answer, I'd be like, I probably think it's a medical thing. That's my gut. However, if we're really talking about orbs in the broader sense, I think that's a really interesting thing to start to delve into. I think it's way too big for one video, but the idea about orbs and seeing balls of light or moving lights, particularly around photographs, I think is really interesting. There are many times in which photographs will be taken and you'll see orbs of light over or near someone. And there are many different thoughts as to what these are. Some people believe they're guardian angels. Some people believe they're ghosts. Some people believe they're karmic energy or auras. There's all sorts of different beliefs on what these orbs are. And Bebe is digging in the couch for a bone. So I think for me, the way I look at orbs, the times in which I have seen balls of light or spheres of light have usually been in very old buildings. As I've said before, I live in New England. There are many, many super old buildings around here. Really old basements. I go out hiking in the woods and there will be old foundations and basements that you can go into. And the energy that's left there, the residual energy, is so powerful. And oftentimes I will see different orbs. And for me, in my faith, in my practice, those are the leftover residual energy from certain entities and different spirits. I don't necessarily believe that that person's soul is there. However, I believe that particularly if there's traumatic events or if enough events happened in one place, I believe that residual energy from those events can get stored there. And even a person's personality can get imprinted in that energy. So their soul moves on when they die. They move on to the next life. They reincarnate. The whole cycle begins again. However, that residual energy and even sometimes personality traits, thoughts, the trauma, all of that can get imprinted. That part of them that's experiencing the trauma gets imprinted in that energy, and that's where the ghost part comes in. So that's sort of how I see the orb working. And the fact that the question asker, they only see it in the sky, and that they're not seeing it indoors, leads me to really feel like in this particular case, we're talking about something visual with this person. Because typically, I have never seen anything just out and about in nature. And the reason for this is because out in nature, there's very little for energy to get stored in. Everything is growing and changing. So over 100 years, that landscape is going to look very different than it did in the previous 100 years. And so you're kind of getting that natural cleansing that happens when you have death and rebirth. So leaves fall from the tree, they begin to decompose on the ground, fertilizes the ground, more things grow out of it. It's the whole cycle of life. So outdoors, you don't see that residual energy getting like pent up. Whereas in a super old house that's standing for 100 years, everything can imbue itself into the walls, into the stone. It can really get its teeth in there and sink in. And that's when you see a lot of this ghost activity and orbs and different things happening all around. Generally, when I see an orb in a picture by somebody, I usually believe that that is some sort of message, that there is somebody who's calling to that person. I know in pictures I tend to have them, and that's because more often than not, I tend to be a conduit. So if there is energy, it will be drawn to something that channels energy the most frequently. So if we think of a metaphor for it, it's sort of like if you have a plumber who's really good at their job, and the energy that needs to get flushed or whatever, but it needs an expert in order to do that. And say it needs a plumbing expert, and there's a plumber in the room. That is going to be drawn to the plumber first because of their expertise. So if I'm in the room with people who are not magical practitioners, and I'm an energy worker, then that energy is going to direct itself closer to me because it feels more of a pull. It feels more of an expertise, somebody who knows how to work with it. And so it's going to be drawn to me. So that's sort of how I see the reason why certain orbs or spheres of light will link themselves up with certain people. The other reason is because certain people are linked with energy. Sometimes when a loved one passes on, especially if it's traumatic, that residual energy can attach itself to people, especially family members. So that's something to think about too, that energy can be following them around. So it's important to kind of figure out whether or not, have a bunch of pictures taken. Is it coming up in different locations, or does that sphere only appear in a particular location? If it's only in a particular location, then it's more likely location-based versus something that's attached itself to you. I think that's probably all I really have to say on it. Like I said, the fact that it's being seen outside, I would need more information. Maybe it's not a medical thing. Maybe you do have something that's attached itself to you, but I really can't answer it more clearly based on just the information that I have. So, and the floater thing, like I said, I get them all the time. I think they're contacts. And the little lines, I remember seeing something on some program that talked about those little lines, and that when we have microscopic hairs and things like that, that we can actually see them. And there actually are quite a lot of parasites and different types of bacteria and growths all over our body, which is not a great thing to think about, but they're all over. We have worms in our eyelashes and all sorts of things. And generally, they're symbiotic. They work with us. In fact, we want certain bacteria. If we don't have bacteria in our gut, we're not going to feel good. So there are things that we need to have in there. And I remember there being something about those little things can be part of that. So those are the floaters. And I'm not sure if that's what you meant, but for me, at least, that's what floaters are. But the orbs, like I said, generally I believe that it's residual energy being left around. And if it really bothers you, or if you think that that residual energy is malevolent in some way, then that is a whole nother topic. Ask another question and we'll try and get to that. We did talk a little bit about malevolent spirits, I believe, in a previous subs week. So you can check out my video on that if you go to the Pagan Perspective blog spot and kind of put in spirits and stuff. I think you'll be able to find it there. But if you have any other questions, definitely ask, and I'd love to hear from you. So I don't think I will be doing subs week. I think Eric and I are switching. So we'll see, and I will see you guys next month, and blessed be.